So tell me about this because I just got informed little bits and pieces today about the Riot Sad Davey Boy Meltzer feud.
So the gist of what I was getting is that Meltzer was trying to say that I guess like Rock and Hogan were probably pop culture icons, but not so much Ric Flair, because Ric Flair was kind of more regional, southern, and I'm like, Ric Flair is easily a pop culture icon. I may have that wrong, or the way Dave was trying to portray this. So, or maybe he was saying that Rick was a pop culture icon, but pop culture icon, but not in the realm of rock, or whatever it was. But him and Ryan Satin, do you have the exchange?
Yeah,
can I just say something before you say the exchange? But to me, there is no cooler factor when the coolest guys, which are athletes and usually hip hop artists, say your shit in their songs or emulate what you do. Bro, there's a song out there now called like the Ric Flair Drip. And you always see like there's this reggaeton artist called a Bad Bunny who's like huge. And you see him in this promo that he does with Ric Flair where he's going, woo, and Ric Flair's sitting next to him. The guy's 70 years old, bro. And people are always, talking about styling and profiling and stealing his swag because he was one of a kind. He definitely was a humongous cultural icon. Like I said, the athletes. How many athletes don't emulate
hang on, before we go. Mm-hmm. Read the tweets first, and then let's comment. I can get everything in context.
All right. Yeah. So it starts when this guy tweets Dave, and he says, I agree, Rick is nowhere near Hogan and Rock when it comes to pop culture. They're in a league of their own. Meltzer replies, it's undeniable, and Flair is my friend, and I've socialized with him in public, at a hotel or restaurant. In his prime, lots of people had no idea who he was. Ryan Satin responds, as someone who worked for a news organization that regularly deals with paparazzi, I can say this statement doesn't make sense. All three are heavily filmed by photographers in public. And then he tweets The Rock, and he says, Dear The Rock, can you help us settle a debate? A prominent journalist tweeted saying Ric Flair isn't a pop culture icon on the same level as you. Thoughts? And after that, that's when Meltzer called him an asshole. So.
Well, read the tweet.
I gotta find it here. But.
Basically, he tweeted, he goes, boy, he goes, I've heard people say this, but you really are an asshole. It's like, basically, like people have told me this because you really are an asshole. He goes, Rick is a friend of mine, and I don't know why you're basically he was calling him out for tagging The Rock in the conversation.
Yeah.
Here's my take on this, okay, is that, like I said, and I tweeted, there's no metric or measurableness you could put. Like how do you qualify to be a pop culture icon? Okay, that's just a basic term that people use if you've reached a level of popularity. And I'll say this, based on the fact between 1995 and 2001 that wrestling was as popular as it was on cable television, okay, that professional wrestling was a major part of pop culture, okay? And if you could take the Mount Rushmore of professional wrestlers and easily say that those guys are pop culture icons, and to argue that point, I think is you can't, like, neither of us can show any evidence, but to argue against the fact that Rock, Flair, Hogan, and Austin, because the popularity of wrestling at the time it was so popular, are not pop culture icons is crazy. I think they're easily pop culture icons. And I think you could throw, from a period of time before that, since everybody on the planet knew who the guy was pretty much, you could throw Andre the Giant in there.
Roddy Piper, maybe.
You could say Piper. Like you could do honorable mention Piper, Dusty Rhodes, Macho Man. You could even throw Macho Man in. Like I said, professional wrestling had a point of popularity where it was a major part of pop culture. And the most popular guys, obviously, I would consider pop culture icons based on the popularity of professional wrestling. Okay, but like, like you'll find if I told you it was Flair, Austin, Hogan, and Rock as the Mount Rushmore of popularity of professional wrestling, could you argue with that, or would that be that would be pretty much accepted?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? Right. Yep. Okay. So how is not
Right.
I mean, Ric Flair, come on, bro. It's like that shtick. Even if you don't watch wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like I talked about this on Vince's show.
Mm-hmm.
When reference to Ric Flair, when you imitate Ric Flair, you are like you're exuding confidence. You speak like Flair's promos were cocky, they were arrogant, but they were like, if you talk about yourself or imitate that, you feel good about yourself. like you're a real star if you're talking like you're impersonating Ric Flair. I'm a kiss stealing wielding. I'm a limousine rider. I got a $10,000. You said that when you imitate his rap, it's just like it just makes you feel good about yourself. Like Ric Flair's rap, people imitate because it's cool. It's cocky. It's like and that's where a lot of rappers like when you saw Snoop Dogg on the 30 for 30.
Yeah.
Giving credit to Ric Flair, talking about how important he was to the hip hop community. Like that's Ric Flair. Like to sit there and say he's not like the whole. Everybody in hip hop knows who Ric Flair is, and hip hop is like a major part of pop culture today too.
And all the athletes.
All the athletes. I mean, I just think it's.
Bro, how many times do you see him on ESPN showing up at a basketball game and the place just goes nuts?
Yeah.
Well, here's Meltzer's
Go ahead.
Meltzer's tweet. Satin, of course.
It's Husey. Hello.
Meltzer's tweet. Satin, of course, tweeted to The Rock, "Can you help us settle debate?" Meltzer responds, "You're really an asshole. People have told me that for a while, but I didn't really get it until now. Rick was one of Dwayne's heroes. He's hardly going to say I'm a bigger star than him. And I'm friends with Rick, but Dwayne is a bigger star. Just a fact. I mean, you can't argue with that. But I don't think that's really what they're arguing about.
Dwayne's a bigger star doesn't mean the Ric Flair's not a pop culture icon.
Not at all. Not at all.
You know what I'm saying? There's iconic figures in pop culture. Ric Flair is easily one of those.
And I'll tell you another one, bro, that's as famous as all of those guys, Macho Man.
Yeah. That's true. I'm not saying, like, if you're talking about iconic pop culture figures.
Right.
And again, you do go into the wrestling genre, those names they easily pop up. There's probably 7 or 8, maybe even almost a dozen pop culture icons that come from professional wrestling.
Undertaker, you could say.
Yeah, like John Cena. They're just iconic figures. Like like they're just well above everybody. They're shown respect by others and people in different industries and stuff. I don't know. I completely disagree with Dave on that.
Would you consider yourself a pop culture icon?
But I had to agree with him on this. You could argue that I'm a pop culture icon.
You can argue anything.
We would be arguing.
You don't think I'm a pop culture? Let me ask you a question. Would you consider yourself a pop culture icon in Mexico? Is it possible at one time you were?
Yeah.
Okay, well then I am too.
That's tremendous.
Yeah.